Welcome to the Owner Finance Network's roundtable discussion. We are here today with, obviously, Scott Horne and two of his really good friends. So I'm going to let you introduce them and talk about what we're going to be asking them today and how this is all going to play out.
You know, Susan, this is what's fun about this is I got not only two of my good friends with me, but two business associates and guys who I've done business with for the last, at least for Daniel's perspective, at least, what, 15 years or more?
2 years.
And Shaun, I'm sorry, you're the old man, 25 years or more?
25 years, yeah.
Been forever. And what is so much fun is not only are they friends of mine, but we do the same thing in business. We buy houses, we sell houses, we've rented houses, we do seller financing. These guys have kind of done it all. So this is kick it off for a minute. So Shaun, you've been around the block a time or two. First off, how in the world did we ever even meet? Do you remember that at all?
Well, actually, you know, when I got started in real estate, I attended the real estate meetup groups, right? And so I started attending those meetings, and then after years of doing a few real estate deals, doing a few more, then I became president. And when I was president of the local real estate investment group, you came on as a board member.
Okay.
Right? And then my term was just for a couple of years, and then somebody else became president. And so Scott and I were on the board together,
Wow.
and we saw firsthand the transition of the real estate market for 30 years.
Well, if you go back to the early 90s when, unfortunately, I hate to say I'm that old, but that's when things were getting started back then. You know, the market was very different. We were coming out of the recession, you know, back at that point in time. You could buy houses really cheap. It was still, though, a funky mortgage world, though, and we had to find different ways of doing things that I remember out there.
Oh man, I mean, we were buying deals with no money down. I mean, every day. And so, I mean, the opportunities to come in and build a massive real estate portfolio, listen, all you got to do is hang out with the knowledgeable people that have kind of been there, done that. And you know, I will tell you firsthand, you know, Scott has been tremendous in building my own real estate portfolio. And man, I just can't thank you enough for just the knowledge. And so it's just like times like this where we're just bantering back and forth. And we come up with ideas that, oh, wow, that's a really good idea. Right?
It would make a lot of money the next 2 or 3 years doing it.
But it is, you do things work that way. You know, sometimes, you know, I get a chance to maybe input some legal stuff here and there, great. But sometimes just that trial and error of trying to learn the business as you push it out. And then to navigate the economy as it changes. Whether is it a retail economy, is it a buy and hold economy, is it a oh my gosh, what do you do economy, and everything. And we've all been through that a little bit.
Right.
You know, I remember the meetings. I think the club was called 𝐟𝐫𝐞𝐞 here in Dallas, and it was great. We used to have 300-400 people a night at these big meetings. But you know, we had to go through the rigmarole of being in the club, meet everybody, go through, do your marketing and sales, and then we'd leave and walk over to the bar, which is where all the business got done. That's why you seem to meet the people that really did a lot of stuff out there in that instance. So no, you've been doing a lot of stuff, Shaun. So you've done everything from, I'm assuming you've done buy, fix, and sell, right?
Retail, buy, fix, and flip, rental properties, lease to own back in the day, contract for deeds, owner finance. I mean, it's
The market's changed with that, you know, from when we used to be, at least here in Texas it has, where we used to be able to do lease options openly. We used to be able to do the executory contract or the contract for deed. And they keep changing the laws here in Texas on what we can and can't do. Now, other states are probably okay with a lot of these things, but here in Texas we're not. So you've just had that. How many deals have you done, you think?
Oh man, well, between me and my partners, I don't know, probably over 8,500 deals.
So a huge volume out there in that regard. So Daniel, who in the world are you, brother?
Well, I'm the young man of the bunch. I'm the youngster.
Thank you.
Yes,
Well, we get the experience. You just have the brawn.
Yep, I have the energy to go out and get it done.
You did. And ours is waning just a little bit, I have to admit, out there. How did you get started in this business?
Yeah, well, I speak fluent Spanish, and my wife is she's Mexican, and so my relationship with her is in Spanish. Wanted to do the fix and flip model initially. I was a carpet salesman, and I was networking with one of my customers, and she gave me Shaun's number and told her what I wanted to do. She gave me Shaun's number. I called him up, took him to lunch, and after the second lunch, started buying just a ton of houses.
So wait a minute. You actually took the initiative,
Mm-hmm.
made a phone call,
Mhm.
asked a question to the right person in this case.
Yep.
And
It
then
took me a week to make the phone call. I mean, I was very nervous. I didn't have a lot of self-confidence at the time, but yeah, I did make the phone call. And the first question that Shaun asked me, he says, "Do you want the big lump check or do you want cash flow?" Well, my family's been self-employed, business owners for a long time, and I was already getting a check, right? I wanted cash flow. I wanted to be set free. And so Shaun, I partnered with Shaun back in 2002, and Shaun set me free with the knowledge that he imparted to me. I met you shortly thereafter, and the knowledge that you've imparted to me has been invaluable. My lifestyle is unbelievable, and it's in due to
But
Shaun.
you know what I'm
and
hearing
Scott.
though, not to interrupt you here too much, but it's taken the initiative.
Yeah.
Because it's sad that so many people are gatherers in our industry, and they're not the hunters, as we call it, I guess,
Mhm,
the
mhm.
doers.
Mhm.
And they all want to gather some information, they want to do it, but it takes getting out of your comfort zone, I guess, for lack of a better word,
Sure.
to make that phone call. Those first phone calls are hard, whether it's to your bank or a lender or a private person, and getting comfortable doing this kind of stuff.
100%. Well, the first things that I met with Shaun. We had lunch, and so he gave me tasks to do. I would say, going back to what you said, though, taking action is paramount. If you're not taking action, then and you're not happy with your circumstance, then you're probably just sitting around complaining about it but not doing anything about it. So I'm not a complainer. I'm an action taker. Called him, but the things that Shaun had me do was go out and put out marketing basically, and so I would get those calls and fill out what we call a bargain finder, which is basically a survey sheet. I just remember just shaking. I mean, I was living in an apartment at the time. Never even bought a house for my own personal use. I was, I think, 25, 26 years old. Was just recently married, had two very young children. They were infants and toddlers, and so I was just terrified. But you continue to do it, and the more that you do it, the more comfortable you get with it, and then you partner with good people that can really hold your hand and give you the knowledge that you need in order to be comfortable and feel like a pro, like an expert. And then once you have that knowledge and the right brain trust around you, then it's just really easy.
Well, but it's repetition, isn't it?
100%.
I always, when I talk to groups, oftentimes talk about me trying to go and talk to banks for the first time, and I was petrified. I had no idea what to say, what they needed.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
never borrowed a penny in my life, and the door gets slammed in your face. It's like, okay, I'll do better next time. You go to bank number 2, boom, the door slammed again. Okay, I'll do better next time. And then 3, then 5, and then 10.
Right.
They keep getting slammed. Of course, when I got started in business at that time, we were coming out of the recession. I was so young and naive, I didn't know banks didn't lend money in a recession, especially in real estate. And you learn the hard way, but it takes that perseverance to get it going.
Sure.
Just like the cold calling
Yep.
and the working through things out there.
Right.
But you have done, I know I've partnered lots of deals with you as well.
Correct.
I know you've done the rehabs and the fix and flips,
Yeah, I've done-
sold them retail.
Yep.
But, just, so I get all that. But we got 25 years experience, we got 16, 17 years experience. And over here, guys, in the corner, we have Susan, who
And
has
Lucy.
3 years experience.
Almost 4.
Almost, I'm
January
sorry.
will be 4 years.
They don't shortchange your Scott.
Yeah,
She's almost
come
4,
on.
okay. So tell us your
So
quick story, where you came
My
from,
quick
how you
story, I
got here.
have 35 years in marketing and sales.
Did you start at like 3 years old or 4?
I paid him to
Yeah, that's it. Jackson did
and I was really, really, really bored. Like, I woke up every day hating what I did, and I'm a huge HGTV junkie, and I kept saying I could do this, so I started going to local REI clubs and meetings, and bought into a national training program called Fortune Builders, which I have high regard for. My partner does not. But I learned a lot of the basics, and then I met Scott at a investment club meeting and was helping him with his booth, and then he mentioned to me if I needed money for a deal. Next day I had a deal, I called him, we closed it, remember at the IHOP or wherever that was? And it was a hoarder house, it was a sweet deal. And we did that, and then another deal, and we decided we worked well together, and we formed a company called S2 Equities, Susan and Scott, S2. And we've done close to 90 deals
Wow.
You know, we've done a lot, it's been great.
of S2 deals, and then we have other businesses that we do other things.
And I gotta tell you, Susan, you got into this business in a very hard time when, at least here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you know, everybody and their mother and their brother, their sister, their aunt, their dog and their cat want to be investors. And, you know, the hedge funds have come here to buy up property and those kind of things. And it made it be a really tight marketplace, and you gotta get really creative to buy homes. And of course, if you gotta get creative to buy homes, that means we're buying homes for lesser value. But Daniel, what I heard you tell me though, and heard say was, it was cash flow that drove you.
Yes.
And I think that, you know, in what we do in our businesses, we have options, right? So you can buy a home, you can fix and flip it, and sell it.
That's a job.
That's a job.
It's a job.
Because when you quit doing that, what happens?
Money
You
drives
start
up.
over again.
Yeah.
Money drives up.
You're out of money.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, we went to a meetup just the other day, and the guys were absolutely freaking out because the market's really tight. They've got all these rehabs, fix and flips on the ground, and no cash coming in the door. So they're like scrambling, trying to get some wholesale deals just to generate cash, just to keep the the boat from capsizing.
No, you have to.
Yeah. Whereas for us, I mean, I don't want a JOB. I want passive residual income. I want time and money together, and you can only get that through cash flow.
No, it is. And but no, cash flow can be other things. So it can be rental property.
Sure.
I get that.
Absolutely.
It can be seller financing.
And I have some of those
Yeah, and I do too.
rentals.
But I
finance.
I have to tell you, I prefer the seller finance marketplace because at least I'm able, in today's marketplace, I'm not able to borrow 100% financing on all my properties.
Mhm.
And because of that, I need to replace some of our cash and our capital through a down payment.
Right.
And seller financing allows me to do that. And I like that part of it. You know, I understand the rental side of it because, you know, for rental property, you hold that property. Now you got to manage it. You got to deal with all the headaches that come with it.
Sure.
And I know that there are headaches in the seller financing marketplace. I just don't find that there's as many
Right.
in the owner finance marketplace as there are in the rental marketplace, at least.
Yeah, and not only are you replacing your money, but generally we're able to generate a higher cash flow
Cash flow.
amount
Right.
by owner financing it. You know, we're giving away some of some part of that control, right? We're giving title to the buyer, but in exchange we're getting a higher monthly payment, but which increases our cash flow. So it makes sense.
Yeah. But, you know, I also like about seller financing is the back-end exit strategies that I see so much.
Mhm.
You know, if you do a rental property and you need to get out of that deal, I think you got one strategy, right? You sell it to a rental investor somewhere.
Yep.
Or you have to move the tenant out,
Fix it up.
refurbish the house,
Some retailer, sure.
and then go the retail route.
Yeah.
So Susan, just while we're on the retail route, tell me what you think about selling a home through a...
Well, we just got an offer today, and the inspection was scheduled for tomorrow, and I'm gonna not sleep tonight. Because they're gonna come back with every damn little nitpicky little.
Well, you know what inspector's job is?
I know.
Is to find things wrong with the house, and they're really good at their job.
It's just.
Well, because if they don't find something wrong with their house, then they're accused of
Right.
why do we hire you?
Right.
But what have you found with that though?
I found that it's a royal pain in the butt, that it's like a hamster wheel, you're just trying to do what everybody wants.
Highly
Picky
emotional.
buyer, yes, forget it.
Highly
I would-
emotional.
If I didn't need some income along the way, I would do all owner financing.
Mm.
Well, it is. I just find that, you know, you go through that retail process, you deal with oftentimes persnickety realtors.
Yep.
Buyers are the same way because it's going to be their home. They want everything to be perfect along the way. And it is hard to do perfect. And you're an investor,
Mhm.
you know, and it's a home that we haven't lived in,
Sure.
that you haven't maintained, and you don't have knowledge about every little detail, but they expect you to have that. It wears you out. But also what I find with that, the retail side of things, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong here, Shaun, but if you sell a house retail, by the time you bought that house, it doesn't matter how you bought it, whether it was through creative financing or using cash or some type of institutional capital, but by the time you buy it, pay your closing costs, pay your holding costs, you turn around and you sell it, you pay your realtor fees, you got to have your insurance, you got interest carry, you have your sale costs, your title fees, and those kind of things. There ain't a whole lot left over when you're in a tight marketplace.
No, and what's interesting to that point is, I've talked to a lot of people that watch these late night shows, right? Fix this house, fix that house, And,
I miss Tom
Property
too, though.
brokers.
oh, okay. Don't even say that because that puts you like really old.
I'm sorry.
But Tom Boo was the man. He was the man, bro. Come on.
I lost track.
So
Just
Susan,
comes-
we need to get a big yacht.
Yeah.
So we can,
And we need blondes
Yep.
Okay.
on the big yacht because that's what Tom Boo did.
But they gotta be in bikinis, man.
Tom Vu, VU?
Do you?
I have
Yeah.
to look, I don't know
Yeah,
what
look,
that is.
you guys look that up.
Well,
You'll see how old we are. But the cool thing is, well, maybe not so cool, but they look at the revenue that they actually generate after all these expenses, all this time, and I see so many investors. Oh, I made 20 grand on this deal. Okay, well, by the time you found the deal and fixed it up, dealt with contractors, dealt with financing, dealt with the realtors to sell the property and the buyers and the inspection, everything that comes with it, I made 20 grand. Okay, how long did that take you? Oh, well, it took me a year. Well, how much time did you spend at the property? A lot. And I'm going, holy cow, who wants to make 20 grand and, work thousands of hours to make 20 grand? It's insane.
well, by the way, there are some who do.
I was gonna say,
There's some
you're living in a bubble, Shaun. There's a lot of people that are watching that would love to do that.
who are. But by the way, some people need to do that.
Well, I'm talking about fix and flip, right?
I get it, fix and flip. And there are those out there who,
They'll spend it.
the national gurus and even the local gurus, they want to sell you first and foremost on wholesaling, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Because they think it's a simple process to go through to find a deal that you can actually sell the contract to somebody for money. But by the time you make those few thousands of dollars wholesaling that property, if you had learned how to do the owner finance business at least, you might be able to multiply that, to the nth degree, right?
I think the argument though is again getting back to time and money, Scott.
It is.
If you're wholesaling and you stop wholesaling, what Shaun said, what happens to your income?
There is none.
There is.
It's gone.
It's gone. So wholesaling is a job. Fix and flip is a job. Unless you're creating passive residual income through notes and or rentals, you got a job.
But even
Now you don't
rentals-
have a boss, and I would say that that's not you have a job and you're self-employed, right? So you don't have a boss, but if you're not there, things aren't running.
That's
Well,
right.
what happens when you leave town? What happens when I leave town and Shaun leaves town? Well, people continue to make their mortgage payments, which is our cash flow,
Yeah.
right? Time and money together.
So it's quasi mailbox money, for lack of a better word.
100%.
I've just never found anything to be 100% mailbox money, unfortunately. You gotta manage and maintain everything and keep track of things.
Well, that's why we pay people to do that.
But at the end of the day, I have found that if you keep up with your own personal assets properly,
Mm-hmm.
it can almost be mailbox money.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we all want, I guess, at the end of the day, isn't it?
Right.
So I think that's a great thing to do. So what's been going on, what have you guys seen? 'Cause I know, Shaun, I know you and I have been through 2 recessions now. I don't want to go through a third. Maybe we've learned through 2 how to navigate the third. I don't know. But they spook you out a little bit. And probably sometime coming up in the near future, things are going to change a little bit. I think that's a foregone conclusion. We've had, 6 or 8 or 10 good years and it's time for things to kind of taper off a little bit out there. But what happens in those times?
Consolidate.
What would you do as an investor?
Well, just the last recession is a good example, right? So, I was looking for deals for cash flow, right? And I will tell you, we saw the recession coming. I mean, it didn't just happen overnight. But the beautiful thing is we made a decision to go into owner finance with that strategy before the recession, started to build up our cash flow from making smart business decisions that had good cash flow. I'm not talking about like $50 a month cash flow, I'm talking excess of $200, $300, $400, $800 a month, right? Or whatever you can get. But that cash flow saved us in the recession, honestly. When Daniel and I were out finding deals before the recession and during the recession, that saved our butt. Because all of our friends were going out of business because they didn't have the monthly residual income that's coming in. And I will tell you, even if, we had some areas of the Metroplex where the values went down, right? As much as 30%. And that killed the competition, right? But for us with owner finance, guess what happened? These people were doing anything and everything to keep their house. They didn't want to lose their house because it was their home, right? Renters, they'll move out to save $100 or $200 a month. But a homeowner will do everything to keep their house, and that really helped us get through the recession where everybody else was going out of business.
But in the same genre, back at that time when this hit, my companies were very large into asset-based lending.
Yep.
And seller financing. But when the recession hit, guess who walked away? All the investors walked away, but none of the homeowners walked away.
Yep.
It was the last thing that they were going to do out there. And, what I learned from that is, grant you, the asset-based lending world can be glamorous, it can be quick income and whatnot, but it can also be big losses as well. But if someone owns a home and you're able to do that creative finance where you create that residual income, they're going to do everything in their power to stay in that house, like you said, Shaun, until they can't do it any longer.
Right.
They're going to sell their cars, their motorcycles, their boats, and whatnot, but the house is going to be the last thing they do, I think. And so, really back when the recession hit, owner financing saved my butt.
Right.
It allowed me to take all this, these defaulted houses we had, to convert them to seller financing because homeowners couldn't get a loan. I couldn't sell my houses except for a deep, deep, deep discount. I was telling some bankers today, actually in a meeting, $100,000 appraised value that we had a loan on 70, we're being offered $40,000 for. You can't take that kind of a hit. That puts you in bankruptcy. But by going out, doing the rehab, selling the seller financing, getting a down payment to replenish those dollars from the rehab, and being able to take that and then restructure your banking lines allowed us to survive that crash and come out on the end smelling like a rose. But it truly was, that philosophy that got us there. Otherwise, we were sunk. Like everybody else was out of business.
And so, but that's a good point. So imagine if you're just getting started. We've had success. We've made, a lot of money through this type of process, but if you're just getting started, imagine starting right now with that knowledge, right? And then let's say we do have another recession. So you're ahead of the game. Because now if you start with the knowledge that we're teaching you here, and you're building up this passive residual income, holy cow. You're going to be the expert that's coming out of the next recession saying, hey guys, I made it, right? And you're happy and you're sharing that with everybody you know and you love.
I think a recession creates opportunity.
Oh, Lord, yes.
So, last time we had a recession, it made buying houses really, really simple. With other people's money and other people's credit, right? If you're doing wholesaling and you're doing fix and flips, good luck, right? If you're trying to get institutional money, anything outside of private money, it's incredibly difficult to get into in recession, just like you experienced when you initially got started out, Scott. But if you're positioned, A, cash is king, and then B, if you have the tools in your pocket to buy houses without cash, without credit, and can then perform the owner finance on the backside, on the disposition of the property, creating cash flow, cash now, cash flow, and cash later, you're in a really, really good place. And that's something that we perfected to a T, and that we're also.
But think about this too, Daniel. You go back to take us back to 2008, 2009. The recession's hitting, right?
Oh yeah.
People had problems.
Absolutely.
They needed to cure it and get out immediately.
Yep.
So what they do? we were able to go and talk to them, and at that time, they just wanted the solution. Usually, they were current on payments. We could buy their home. We could buy it subject to the existing debt.
Correct.
And it required very little money out of pocket to take over that deal.
Right.
We might have a month or 2 months of interest carry along the way. We might have to do a little cleaning of the carpets, but in most cases, it was very little capital.
Right.
And we were able to generate cash, as you said, cash from a down payment.
Cash now.
Serious equity, and of course, cash flow.
Right.
And future equity
For sure.
out there. Now, as time has progressed, over the last 8 or 10 years, of course, things have slowed down a little bit. And what we see so much of now, or at least what I see a lot of, is our homeowners, instead of being current on payments, are behind on payments. And so now it becomes a little bit more cash intensive to get into it. You got to change your transaction a little bit more. You got to come up with your cash out of pocket to close the deal, to bring the loan current, plus the same repairs that home needs along the way. And so it changed the structure of that deal just a little bit.
Yeah.
But it still allows you the same benefit. So I like to always talk to people about this a little bit, where you get to watch the economy as it changes.
Sure.
Everything's going to change. Where you can get into deals with no money out at all, put cash in your pocket today and move on. It was great for several years.
Oh yeah.
Today, not so much. You can't do that, but you can then generate this long-term recurring cash flow, which is that wealth generating.
Yeah. It is a different cycle, and one of the other things that I'm seeing is because the market's been hot, we're having to not only sometimes cure defaults, but also negotiate a portion of the seller's equity.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing that. So if you have cash but not necessarily credit, we've got the solution and the strategy to take those deals down and create time and money with passive residual income through owner finance all day long. So prepare. There is a recession coming. I mean, it's going to happen. It's inevitable, right? Everything is cyclical. The economy is cyclical. Put away some
So
cash.
it's just gonna get better.
It's
For
going to
us.
get better. Yeah, there's going to be some opportunities. I say, we need a little bit of cash, for those reasons, the current defaults, etc. But we have the strategies in place where we can come in and use other people's money, other people's credit, to solve the seller's problem. And then on the other flip side, 80% of the marketplace, Scott, does not qualify for a loan.
Yep.
Well, who is dealing with the 80% of the marketplace that doesn't qualify for a loan?
We are.
Jinx. No one else is dealing with that marketplace. So the marketplace is huge. I mean, it's wide open. I mean, we're dealing with the masses. And so even in a recession, there's still so many people out there that are looking for a home because 80% don't qualify. We still have the opportunity to sell homes. It's easier to buy them, and it's still relatively easy to sell them as well, using owner finance, of course.
Okay, guys, let's gear it back up here a moment for a bit. So the one thing I always hear in the marketplace out there for people, they always think that there's some magic pill that I've got because I'm a lawyer. Somehow because I've been able to get to that position, it somehow made this business easier. I look at Shaun over here. Shaun comes, he is well educated at SMU. He's got an MBA, he's a sharp guy. But he didn't get out of college to do this business initially. He had to get into it, right?
Right.
But what impresses me more than anything is y'all. I look at Daniel for a moment, and I get it that he didn't necessarily go to college and come up that way. He's a sharp guy. He got out, he went to work for a living, he worked, but he had that drive and desire to do something different, and he took the initiative to do it. And that is what impresses me more than anything out there. And Susan, even with you out there, you are a very successful marketing person that got tired of what you're doing, and you just want to do something different. We all get bored sometimes from day to day. And yeah, we all, you watch HGTV and Chip and Joanna and whatever it might be, and oh my gosh, it's so awesome. That ain't real life though.
No.
And I know that you go out to these big programs and whatnot, they teach you all these great things and they want to sell you more and more to make it look like that's how it really works. But I know you found out it's not, and it's hard work. Because how many hours a week do you say you work? 70?
70,
80?
80,
A bunch, right?
yeah.
It is. But it takes
Wow.
a desire and a drive to do it. It's just not going to fall in your lap. And then it takes meeting and talking with the right people, whether it's people like the Owner Finance Network, whether it's through other groups or whatnot, and talking about options and ideas, and then implementing those ideas and doing it. I've watched Shaun do that. I've watched Daniel do that. I know we've all talked about different things when we create new situations to do it. I know we've done it. And I mean, your brain hurts sometimes.
Mm.
It's just not that easy out there. But if you're willing to do this stuff, it can really work. So as you go through this kind of stuff, though, one of the things that I've also noticed is in our marketplace, guys, things change. So we go out, and I would prefer to buy a home with creative financing if I could.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care whether they're debt-free or there's an existing mortgage and I can buy it subject to the debt in some format, as opposed to having to pay cash or get a loan on it, because then I take on personal liability, right?
Mm-hmm.
What have you guys seen going on in the marketplace right now? Now, what's happening out there? Is there anything different? What's it taking to convince that seller to give us the biggest asset they've ever had in their life, their own?
Well, I see the market slowing. I've actually gotten a lot of calls from realtors lately. You know, in the early 2000s, you know, we would speak with realtors about what we were doing, creative financing, buying properties subject to the existing debt, and they would laugh at us. Like literally, they would laugh at us.
Well, of course, back then, of course, you were a cockroach. You could get a damn loan on anything you wanted to, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So now I'm seeing a lot of agents have listings that are not getting showings. They're competing with builders. There's a lot of building going on. I see a lot of people continuing to be behind in payments and still turning to an agent to try to sell that property retail. And then the agents are starting to reach out to us because they know that we do alternative real estate, alternative financing real estate. And so I've really seen that as a different thing, and I've not seen it in my career before, where the agents are really starting to reach out to the investor side of the business for help with their retail side.
But you know, I love hearing about that. I go back to like 2008, 2009, and the crash is hitting. Everything's caving in around your ears, right?
Mm.
And here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and across Texas, I was getting phone calls left and right from investors and realtors going, what do we do? We can't sell our houses. We're stuck. What are our options? And everybody going brain dead. You know, it was so easy during the subprime era just to, if you could sell a house, boom, sell it, and move on, right? But when the music stopped, what do you do? And they all didn't know what to do. But I would go and talk to the realtors at that point in time, and you got, the approach was one of these.
Mm-hmm.
No, I know what you're talking about. It's that owner finance stuff. It's illegal. It's you can't do it. It's this, it's that, whatever it might be.
Right.
It was across the board.
Correct.
And I'll bet you, if the agents had just stopped to listen, to learn, there were 200,000 agents in Texas back in 08, 09 is what I understand. And I bet you about half of those went out of the business because they didn't learn new techniques in how to help their clients. And so, Daniel, I know you like to work with realtors, and I do too.
Of course.
And how to educate them just a little bit in how, by opening up the horizons a little bit, giving that seller different options. You know, so often, if a seller owns a home debt-free, the realtor goes, let's just sell it and put all that cash in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
But their thought process stops about right here, right into their nose.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, well, if you get all this cash, what are you going to do with it? Do you think they ever asked that question? I doubt it, right?
Never.
No. And, you know, are they going to take that money and go buy their house? Maybe.
Maybe.
Right.
Or are they moving into an apartment or a retirement facility or something else, and that cash is going to sit in the bank where they get paid about this much, right?
Right.
And I like to talk to realtors about helping them learn options and how you present it to their clients.
Right. Well, I think, you know, back in the early 2000s, you know, the market was hot, retail was hot. You know, there wasn't any need in the brokers, because it was really the brokers and the compliance officers in the real estate community that were preaching that we don't need to do anything alternative. What we're doing is working. Okay. Well, if it's working, it's not broken, don't fix it.
Right.
So it was programming on behalf of the brokers to the agents. Now, you know, things are a little bit different, right? So I can give you an example of the last property I bought.
Okay.
So an agent calls me up. He's got a house. He's had it listed for 60 days, and it was listed for 90 days previous to that. So the sellers are it's a couple. One is active duty military. The other is retired military. They moved to Georgia because the military sent them to Georgia when they thought they have a gorgeous house. It's a 2014 build. It's in a HOA community. It's just a beautiful setup. So they thought, well, yeah, no problem. I'll be able to sell my house, fairly quickly. Well, 5 months later, 2 realtors later, I'm getting the call from the agent, hey, do you do that owner finance thing? Well, yeah, of course I do. And so, make a long story short, we were able to take over payments roughly about $256, and then we were able to owner finance that house out at $325, and we sold it in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, because we're not competing with the builder. So the challenge in that particular neighborhood is that the builder is building. Well, who's going to go buy a pre-owned home in that neighborhood when they can go to the builder, pick out their granite, pick out their floor plan, pick out their wall colors, and have a brand new house that's under warranty to add to boot? They're never going to buy those pre-owned homes. They're always going to opt to go with the builders. So we've got these, this family that has dedicated their lives to the service of our country. They can't sell their house. They're 3 payments behind when I found them, and we turned that situation around. And in 2 weeks, put a commission in the agent's pocket. He's super happy because we turned basically a foreclosure into money for him. The sellers are incredibly grateful because they were going to have a foreclosure on their credit, and they were using their VA. That's a VA loan that they have in place, and they wouldn't be able to use their VA certificate in the future. I think it's about 4 years that they're penalized for that. And then, of course, the buyer is a self-employed person who just got into a new business and can't qualify for a loan, but has more than adequate income. So just a total win-win-win-win. So for everybody.
Wasn't that fun?
Only because I learned from Shaun, I learned from you, Scott, how to buy the property subject to the existing debt, and then turn around and offer owner financing terms on it. If not for that, this military couple that have dedicated their lives to serving our country would be faced with a foreclosure.
Didn't that make you feel great?
Oh, I told the agent, I said, the first call when we talked to them about the solution, they were super grateful that we would take them on and that we would consider, their plight. I said, wait till we make this next phone call, because it was only 2 weeks later. We told them that we had a contract on the house. I thought the lady was going to cry. The wife had been working 3 jobs just to try to make ends meet, see if she could find a way to make up back payments. They were talking about converting a 401k or cashing out a 401k early. I mean, this is a serious situation that we were able to turn around in 2 weeks. Oh yeah, I mean, the agent was just like, whoa, like this is a whole different experience than I've ever experienced before. I mean, retail real estate is just like what you talked about. It's nitpicky, it's highly emotional, but it's not like life-changing for people. I mean, this is a life-changing event that happened for both the buyer and the seller, to be honest with you. I mean, we provided home ownership on a gorgeous home to a person that had been turned down multiple times from banks.
Just did the same thing. Similar situation. Ours was divorce in this case. And the couple had tried to sell the house through a realtor, and it sat in the market for months and months and months and months and months and didn't sell. House is mint. It's move-in ready. Doesn't need anything done to it. It's just not upgraded to some of the style of the neighborhood. This is a gated community.
Oh wow.
And we went into it, I was a little bit hesitant to actually buy it and take it down day one. So I put it under an option contract.
Because of the price point?
Yeah.
And because of the
It's
condition?
a little bit high.
Gotcha.
But it was great. But gated community had some issues about marketing that might be a little more difficult than most neighborhoods.
Sure.
But they needed out. They were going to foreclosure. The husband was in bankruptcy, unfortunately. Bad situation. They're looking for a solution, whatever that solution might be. Now, I love it that my houses used to sell in 2, 3, 4 weeks, boom, done, just like you're talking. It doesn't always happen that way. But within 60 days, we got a buyer. We're going to close this transaction. The foreclosure is done. They get out underneath it. The couple just moved here. They're living in a hotel. They need to find a home.
Right.
They're not going to be able to qualify for a mortgage for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And so they got a great deal. They got a house they wanted that is neat, clean, livable, in a great gated community at the right price they wanted. It helped the sellers, it helped the community, it helped the mortgage company, it helped everybody. And had the realtors involved, learned the creative finance business out there, they could have made this available to the marketplace. But so often they're only taught one thing. You got to sell the mortgage company, go through traditional scenarios.
Sure.
And they don't think about there are other alternatives that they should present to their seller as options. And the more realtors who can learn this business
Right.
and learn, it's not the right deal for everybody, I get that. But it's the right deal for a lot of people though.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity. Just like your people, you help them out of a bad situation, you solve the problem.
Right.
We did the same thing. And you walk away going, yeah, this was great.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not making a kill on a deal. We're going to make a little bit of money, but not a lot. But you solved a problem.
Sure.
And that's the fun part of business.
You know, I think it's just a matter of education for the realtor. You know, they've been programmed for so long that, you know, buying subject to the existing debt is illegal just because of the due on sale clause, which is not illegal. It's not a criminal event.
Not at all.
It's a civil event, and they've been taught that for so long that you can't do that, or there's liability, this, that, or the other. I think it's just a matter of just educating the agent that, you know, there's another way to skin the cat. You know, you don't always have to be in the box. You know, if the box works, you know, just sell it retail. Somebody goes out, gets a new loan, pays off your seller's loan. Hey, fantastic! I applaud that, right? But if you have these problem listings, you know, listings that aren't selling, especially if somebody's in pain. I mean, if they're behind in payments, they're going through a divorce, you know, they lost their job. You know, I've got an appointment on Saturday. The couple actually called us up and said, hey, we don't think we're going to be able to make our next payment. Well, the husband wanted to go try to do a loan mod. Okay? In between the time that she canceled the appointment with our first appointment, she canceled it. In between her canceling the first appointment and us getting the appointment this coming Saturday, her husband had a stroke.
Oh, no.
So, you know, there's no really and he was on disability, but now he can't even get disability because, you know, he's completely, I don't know how bad the incapacitation is. I'll find that out on Saturday. But the point being is that agent realized that this is a really serious situation. I mean, this gentleman's going to lose his income. It's not coming back. They're counting on just the wife's income alone, and it's obviously insufficient. She's the one that made the phone call that I don't know how I'm going to make my next mortgage payment. So we're going to go over there. We're going to buy the property subject to the existing lien. We're going to sell it with owner finance, and we're going to provide, again, we're going to help a family avoid foreclosure, probably some damage to their credit, because I think we can do it quickly enough to where they don't get behind on payments, and you know, create an ownership opportunity for a family that wouldn't have it otherwise.
You know, one of the interesting things that you guys are saying that's common from when I first got started in real estate to today's market, if you're an investor, right, and you're going to speak to an agent, some agents still will not work with you if they think you're going to be taking over somebody's payment because they don't understand that. But as a new real estate investor who's looking for passive income, I will tell you the key that we've heard from both of your stories just now is motivated seller.
Sure.
People that are facing a situation where they're stuck. If somebody has a good job and, you know, they put it on the market because they want to upgrade, you know, that's not necessarily a motivated seller.
Right.
And so what I've found in, you know, my 25 plus years experience is talking to motivated sellers, somebody that's behind on the payments, and listen, you're helping them restore their credit and helping them out of a bad situation. That's pretty amazing, right?
100%.
But you're talking about people that are coming out or going through a divorce. And what's the divorce rate right now? I mean, high, right? So, and we know in today's market, most households are dual income households. Right. So you lose one of the incomes, what happens to the house?
You're behind on payments.
Exactly. So I think as a newer investor or one that's looking to get out of the rat race and change their lives, that's really what we're all looking for, is how can we help families? We're not taking advantage or hurting families. We're actually helping families out of a difficult situation and helping them move on with their lives. Mm-hmm. And then you're all helping a family move into a house that's been told no over and over and over again. I mean, how many of you are self-employed, right? Good luck trying to get a loan, right? But now you show the income and you can buy a house with owner finance. How many times have all of us sold a house where people are crying at the closing table?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about
Of
that.
happiness.
Huh?
Of happiness.
Of happiness, yeah. Seriously. And then they say, oh, Shaun, you got to come over to my house. We're going to do this to it. We're going to do that. We're going to have a big party with, I'm inviting all my family. And Shaun, you're the one that made it happen.
Yeah.
You gave me the opportunity to own my own house, and that's special to me.
Right.
And how many times have we faced that?
Yeah.
Let me ask you something,
Right.
Shaun. How often is a motivated seller created?
How often are they created?
Yeah.
All the time.
Every day.
Every day.
I mean, there's always someone that's passing away, losing their job, getting transferred, getting a divorce,
Job loss.
job loss.
Yep.
100%. I mean, so, there's really never a shortage of people to help. I mean, we're in the people business. It just so happens that the vehicle that we use to help people is real estate. But this is a people business and we're all about helping people. And there's someone that's created every single day that we can help.
But is that not
life
drives
circumstances.
you in this industry?
For sure.
When that light bulb goes off, that you're not here just to make money.
Right.
Making money is fine. You have to make money to live and eat, right? But when you can really realize that you're helping that seller, regardless of the situation, you're helping that buyer, who wants to be a homeowner but can't for whatever reason it might be. And you said 80% can't qualify, and I agree with that number.
Correct.
Out there. And then you help the community, you help the mortgage industry from not foreclosing.
Right.
And I get these things like due on sale violations. That's all about disclosure and making sure everybody's on the same page, okay? But when that light bulb goes off and you go, holy cow,
Mm-hmm.
this business is fun for all those reasons, that motivates you, it drives you, and it just makes you want to do more to help people.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you can do all those things and make money along the way.
Right.
And make that
We
really
never focus. We never focus. Shaun and I have been partnered in real estate since 2002. We never focused on money. I mean, that really wasn't the focus. Our focus was helping families, doing it in a more ethical way, and money always followed. Money always followed. I remember in the toughest of times when the recession hit, the mortgage crisis hit. I mean, there was times where we really needed like a chunk of cash to cover a major bill or something that major that came up, and there was never a time that the money didn't appear. It just followed us around because of the way that we were operating, and that we were focused on families, focused on helping people, and then going back to what you're saying, not only helping the community, but honestly, we're helping the taxpayer. I mean, think of how many FHA, government-backed, government-insured mortgages that we've saved from foreclosures. Well, who's on the hook for that? Who's on the hook? Who's paying that insurance? Who's paying for those properties that are foreclosed? It's you and me. It's the taxpayer. So not only are we doing a service to our community, I mean, literally we're doing a service to our country. I mean, it really boils down to that.
Where's the flag and the national anthem?
You don't like to tie into to the patriotic part?
No, exactly it is though.
Come on, man.
But no, it truly is.
So we 2 years ago,
It's
I
true,
had
though.
a young man starting a landscaping business, right? Couldn't get a loan. But he was entrepreneur, young. I mean, this kid he's going to make it happen, right? And he's starting out his life, but he is a go-getter, and he needed a house for his family. And so he showed the income that he's making from his landscaping business, going out there and building something. Well, he bought a house from us with owner financing. But the really cool thing is, 2 years later, a good payment history, building up his credit, guess what happened?
To refinance.
He refinanced, right? He was able to refinance his house because he showed a good payment history on an owner finance property and was able to qualify for a refinance and lower his payment.
From a 9% rate to probably a 4 or 5%.
Exactly. And so he dropped his payment by a couple $100, but he came back to me and was saying, man, Shaun, I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you for giving me the opportunity. And so it's people like that, business owners, people that maybe come up credit challenges. I mean, how many of us have had credit challenges over the years because of, medical bills or whatever, and now we're helping these families. And it's amazing.
No, it is. And the more you do it, the better it gets, right?
Yeah. How many of us have had credit problems, Susan? I was like, Susan, you got credit problems?
Susan goes,
She was like, I don't have credit problems, I just don't pay my income taxes.
That's my problem. Okay?
There are problems of all types, aren't there?
Yeah. But Shaun, going back to that story, that's a great story, by the way. How did that make you feel that you were able to help that family get into a property? They were able to establish a payment history on that owner finance mortgage and then refinance it and lower the monthly payment.
yeah, it's just amazing.
How awesome is that?
How awesome. How many times do we have an opportunity to help people, to create some value in their life that lives with them forever?
And make really good money.
And make good money too.
And it's okay. It's a win, win,
Oh, for sure.
win, win, as you said.
Oh, yeah.
So let me ask y'all a question. We know what the Dallas-Fort Worth marketplace is very well, and I think we all know Texas pretty well.
Right.
And other states may vary from place to place a little bit, and I get that based on the time of the the year or the seasons, whatever it might be that go along out there. But if you are an investor, you're trying to get into business a little bit. You're able to go out and do your marketing and advertising, and you get in front of that seller, and that seller needs help. They're able to convince them that they need to sell their home, and we're going to buy it. We know that there is usually a cash requirement involved today to buy those homes. Whether you're paying cash for it and going through a bank, whether you're buying it subject to and bringing a loan current, putting cash in it, there's a cash requirement. But so often what I see right now is you have to either find a private lender. So let me back up. You need cash of your own to put in the deal. That's number one, right?
Yes.
Now, if you do that, you develop a nice return on capital, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. I'm not sure where else you can get as attractive return on capital than you can in the seller finance business doing that.
Well, in the legal world now.
Maybe. But I just remember I want to charge you more and charge you more again. But then maybe you go out and you don't have cash, so you can borrow private capital, right?
Right.
Maybe you get the private capital on longer term income, maybe a 10-year note or 15. Shoot, Shaun, you said 30, earlier as a possibility. That's great. That's hard to find sometimes.
We have people calling us up asking us where they can place their money, Scott.
Well, I know that. We all do. But to find private capital, you have to find that money, right?
Sure.
And just like what you did day one, you have to open your mouth and ask.
Hello.
And then find out what they want to do. Do they want 2, 3, 4-year money? Or is it 10-year money? Is it 15-year or longer? But if you don't ask, you don't get.
And what kind of rate of return do they want and those types of things, sure.
But in the seller finance business right now, whether you are buying this home with creative financing subject to the debt out there, you are bringing in private capital for the difference. Usually you have very limited cash flow at that point in time. So it might take a couple of years to develop the cash flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what would be a suggestion out there to investors trying to do this? No, maybe they have a full-time job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keep your job, do this, build and develop, right? Could be a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Pay off that secondary debt so you develop that long-term reoccurring positive cash flow. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
What else could they do, though, along the way? What can y'all come up with?
Along the way to generate the cash component that they need to get
cash
into
flow
this.
eventually.
Well, I think one of the interesting things is, and I've learned this from Shaun, so maybe stealing a little bit of Shaun's thunder though, is, how often do people move?
It's just a trickle, by the way.
Yeah, just a trickle. How often do people lose or move jobs these days? I mean, they used to stay.
Yeah, 30 years,
they used to stay at a job 30 years, retire. We're going to give you a pension. La la la. Now it's they're climbing the corporate ladder. They're changing jobs every 4 or 5 years. Well, what happens to the 401k from the job they just left? It stays right where it is. And what a lot of these people don't know is they can actually move that 401k of the previous job that they were at into a self-directed IRA and start making loans out of it. And so we found more people that have old 401ks that are just sitting there doing nothing, not getting a return, and we've been teaching them how to turn that 401k into a self-directed IRA and then loan the money out, well, to us, of course, to go buy real estate and get a return that they for sure weren't getting before we found them, and even before when the 401k was active, they're getting a better return for them.
Great idea,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that.
Mhm.
And you're exactly right. And people don't know they can do those kind of things.
Right,
And sometimes we as investors have to educate to a certain degree, right?
right.
So let's say I'm the investor and I'm buying the house,
Mm-hmm.
and I come to Daniel and I use your 401k
Mhm.
to use for that $20,000
Mhm.
Down payment.
down
repairs.
payment, repairs, whatever it is I have to have, reinstatement amount I got to do it there.
Yep.
But with the income I have coming in, once I sell the home, positive cash flow, and I want to pay off that $20,000 pretty quick, let's
Sure.
say,
Mhm.
I'm making no money right now though.
Okay.
So what do? Do I keep my day job until I pay off that money, and then I have my cash flow coming in?
Mhm.
Are there other options out there for the investor to look at? What if that investor needs money today? Is owner financing a solution for them for today's investment?
Well, I think so. I mean, you're I'd say about every 8 out of 10 has some type of cash component, but on the flip side, you have to remember when you're selling with owner finance, you're getting a down payment. So, I'd say you might need $20,000 to get into that loan, but that might be a short-term loan just to get it closed and get it marketed. The carrying cost that you talked about, maybe 30, maybe 60 days. 60 days would be a really long time. But then once the property is closed owner finance, you've got a down payment coming in, and you can either pay off that 20 or really put a serious dent into it to where you've got cash flow coming in a heck of a lot quicker relative to the other exit strategy that creates passive residual income, which is renting. So if you're renting, you get what, first and last months. That's not going to replenish your cash stock. That's not going to put money back into your pocket or pay off your second lien of $20,000. That's why owner financing is so attractive, because you're out that cash, but it's only for a short period of time, and then you've got a big chunk coming back in through the down payment from the owner finance buyer, and you can pay off that money and start cash flowing for your family a lot quicker.
So most investors that are getting started out can find $15,000. So they might have the money themselves, but if they've got a deal that they feel like they can do, they'll find the money, right, through somebody that they know. But when you come up with the $15,000, that enables you to close on the deal. But the brilliant thing about with the seller financing model is the buyer's putting the down payment, and typically we're getting anywhere from 10 to 20% as a down payment. So buyers have skin in the game, which is essential in our business.
Right.
The zero down, you want to stay away from those deals because you will lose money, right? But somebody's putting down 10 to 20%, they've got skin in the game. But think of you as an investor. I got 15 out on this deal. Now I just got 25,000 back. Now you're putting money in your pocket today. And what if you want to get out of the job and you want to start making money immediately? Well, just go do a deal a month or 2 deals a month. Get to the point where your owner finance model, you're getting really good at the model, and you're getting the monthly income that's coming in along with the residual income, then quit your job. But this model with owner finance, and Scott, what you guys have created, you literally can create thousands of millionaires who really can change people's lives and get out of the rat race. It's not just real estate. I think we could probably all agree. For me personally, I'll speak for myself personally, I could give a flip about real estate, but I sure love what real estate does for me, right?
It does, it's great. I'm supposed to be an engineer, I'm supposed to be a lawyer. I do practice law and whatnot, I did that. So y'all hush over there a little bit. But real estate is what's made this.
Right.
More millionaires are made in real estate than anything else out there.
Right.
But it's also learning the various techniques along the way how to do it.
Yeah.
But what I find so intriguing, especially with Shaun and Daniel, and as Susan's over here learning as well at this point in time, is we've been through the gambit.
Mhm.
We've done all this stuff out there. And what I know the 3 of us have learned, at least, and I know I think Susan's pretty much learned this as well too now, is that the real wealth building, modeling is for the seller finance modeling because of that down payment and how it comes in. Yeah, I get it. Maybe we can buy with creative financing. We all want to do that. Not every deal can be bought that way. Sometimes you gotta buy for cash. Great. It still works. And whether you have $15,000 in your pocket or you can go find it, you can still do it. Maybe you don't have to quit your day job, as you said. Do one deal a month. Heck, do one deal every 6 months. Just do a deal.
And that's how I got started, Scott.
And put it together and build on it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I was a carpet salesman. I was running appointments to go measure people's houses. I was actually managing a showroom, and then the customers would come in and show them, flooring samples, and then I would take them to their house after work. Well, after work, I was banging up bandit signs on the way to the appointment. After I got done with the appointment, I was going and putting flyers, up 10 doors this way, 10 doors that way, and across the street, 10 doors down and 10 doors up. And eventually I got so many, I got calls. I was meeting with Shaun. He was, holding my hand, telling me, how to do these types of transactions. I went into my boss's office and I said, hey, I've got an eye problem. And he says, what's that? And I said, I can't see myself working for you anymore. But it was only because, I was getting out of my comfort zone. My day didn't stop just because the clock hit 5 or 6, and my shift was over, whatever that looks like for you out there. After that, then the real work started, right? Because getting out of the rat race, we have to acknowledge, it's hard. It's not, every check that they give you is a bribe check. Hey, stay here, continue to build our dream. Your employer is giving you that bribe check every month, to stay there and build their dream. And so, turning down that bribe check to go out on your own, that's scary.
One thing I learned, Daniel, and I like hearing that, and I love your story. Not so much yours, Shaun, I like Daniel's. I'm kidding. But, it's that job. No, you go to college, what they teach you in college to do. How to get a job.
Yeah.
And make somebody else money.
Right.
I know that there, if you look at the Robert Kiyosaki things, you have the employee, the business owner, the investor, whatever, how it works out. But it truly is realizing what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean quit your day job today. It means having a focus.
Mm-hmm.
It means having a goal and a drive to do that. When I got started, I ran 2 jobs. I ran my law practice and I ran real estate.
Mm-hmm.
I worked 16 hours a day, 2 jobs. I don't know how long to do this stuff. It took an effort to get there. Not everybody is lucky as to walk in and say, we're going to make money day one. And in the real world out there, people want to teach you this philosophy. You make money immediately. In real life, it's you make money this way, right? We all know that, and we learned that. But it's that recognition that you saw of, I have a better opportunity. Now, before you quit your job, though, you were out doing things, you saw things going on, you were making money. So
Sure.
I don't really like to tell people who are getting started in this business just to quit your job and start doing this.
Oh, I didn't immediately quit my job.
No, I know
It was
that.
months and months after.
And maybe
I
if you have maybe if you're married and one party is making money and you can quit and do this and work it full time, do it. Great. I get that part. That works good. But it is that drive and desire it takes to make this stuff work. But it's also a focus on what it is, we're doing. And we have all been through this before. We have done the wholesale transactions.
Mhm.
We've seen that.
Sure.
We have done the buy, fix, and sell modeling. We've done that. And I get it. No, we do a couple of those deals occasionally. There are some deals that work that way better than the others. I got it. But at the end of the day, when you compare the financing models that are in the marketplace to help us get off of the hamster wheel,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything that you guys can think of better than what we do right now in the seller financing world? What would you do differently? Anything?
Oh, I would just dump it all in the stock market.
I like that. I'm gonna go sell surfboards and rent beer. Okay.
Honestly,
Daniel, what are you gonna do?
on a serious note, I really have a high level of respect for people that are positioned. I think it's about positioning. A lot of families, they start their, they get a job, they switch jobs like we talked about every 4 to 5 years, they keep moving up. Well, guess what happens? you know, they still feel broke because their lifestyle goes up with their income.
Mhm.
But there's some families out there that are very well positioned in that they've moved up the ladder, but their lifestyle, they've kept their expenses to a minimum, and so then they do have an opportunity if it's a double income household to where one can work and the other can really step out. You know, the second thing I would say is you know, sometimes, you know, when you get started, the wholesaling is a really good tool to you know, bring in some additional income. And the thing is I've never ever looked for wholesales as a strategy. Never done it. But as I'm looking for my, you know, subject to existing debt properties, my owner I bought actually properties on owner finance. You know, the properties that we buy cash and take down for rentals or owner finance transactions. I have found the wholesale deals. I mean, either the house is too torn up, I don't want to put the work into it, you know, it's a good opportunity for someone else, but I know that I can make some money. You're going to find those deals. But I've always focused on looking for those deals that we can owner finance or that we can hold as rentals, and the wholesale always just appeared. So I would say it's still a good strategy getting started.
You know, God ain't making any more real estate, right? So the way to generate wealth is that buy and hold mechanism in
100%.
some format. And the question is, what's the right strategy?
Owner finance.
Well, I agree. You know, and again, there are those who will disagree a little bit here and there, and I get that, and that's fine. But
I mean, the only argument is between a rental and an owner finance, and we can go around about that all day long. I mean, you know, there's advantages and disadvantages to both. But if you really want to have a simplified life, increase your cash flow, and keep your management just really basic, owner financing is the way to go all day, every day.
So Susan, I'm going to put you on the spot here for a minute.
Okay.
So you got 3 old goats over here.
What?
You know, we got
Hey,
two
can you believe
got
she
2
said
old
that
goats
about
and a
you?
billy goat as
I
well.
wouldn't call Daniel an old goat.
No, I wouldn't say that at all.
And I know that you're the newest to the environment, and you've
Yes.
had a chance to do both. You've done some rentals, I know. I know you've done some retail transactions, buy, fix, and sell.
Yes,
And you've had a chance to see the owner finance marketplace work.
yes.
So from the newest perspective, taking us out of the equation, knowing what you have learned in the last almost 4 years, what's your philosophy of business now in this world? What would you say?
I would only do owner financing if I didn't need to bring home a little bit of immediate money. That is the positive about fix and flips. We don't ever really wholesale.
No.
No. And we need to look at that, but it's just so much easier. It's just, everything about it is, like you talked about, helping people and the rewards of, everything about it is great. It's just the immediate, it's long-term.
Yeah, I
No, it is.
mean, wholesaling and fix and flip, I mean, you're talking cash.
Yes,
If you want to talk about wealth, you want to talk about retirement, you want to talk about time with money, it's owner finance, because you have to have those assets that are paying you a monthly residual income. If you don't have that, then you can have to continually work, you have to continually trade time for money, and you're still in the rat race just because you don't have somebody telling you what to do.
It is. You know, I can't say it any better than that, Daniel. That's truly wrapping it all up right there.
Well, there's the wrap.
But
My
guys,
God's done
there
it.
it is.
Thank
It
you.
is.
but those that are in their 20s and 30s, oh my gosh, the potential.
My daughter's 21.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
mean, think about it. You look at, if you knew
You're 30, you're going to be balling.
what you knew now in your 20s,
Well, I did.
holy cow.
I
you
was
did?
25 when I met Shaun. Yeah, so I'm 43
Yeah.
and with my lifestyle. People
Look
think I'm an
like-
overnight success. They
Yeah.
meet me and I'm like,
Right.
oh, you have no idea. Blood, sweat, and tear for what we have.
It is, and that, but at
disappeared.
the end of the day, is it worth it?
Oh, yeah.
Is there any, I don't know, I mean, I love the engineering business. I like the abilities my law practice has been able to create opportunities for me.
Mhm.
I love the real estate investment business.
Mhm.
The ability to help people.
Mhm.
I like the ability to help people out of their situations, put people in good situations. I like turning junky stuff into gold through the rehab if we have to do that as well.
Mhm.
And the rewards that come with it. I don't know anything else I would rather do in this world, per se. than this at this time.
Even take a vacation, right?
You know, I would say the key to business and to wealth is surrounding yourself with people that have been there, done that.
Yeah.
So like real estate, the business model that we're talking about, you know, learning from the experts. And listen, when you see people that have achieved wealth or status or helping people in this world, and you see that and that's what you want, then you just have to surround yourself and get the education of the people that have come before you. If you do what they do, then their bank account will be your bank account. Honestly.
And the great thing about that is that all these videos we're producing for the Owner Finance Network, people, even newbies, can buy into that and really learn from all of you who've come before them and
Sure.
been successful.
It is.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're always getting together, you know, bantering back and forth, and there's really literally been times that we've talked about stuff, things that we're seeing in the marketplace, problems that might be occurring in our businesses, and we literally, you know, have developed a strategy revolving around owner finance that, you know, takes us to yet another level.
Well, one thing I look forward to is, as we wrap this up, guys, is maybe another time for us to talk about the next tier. Once we've accomplished this, what do you do? What are the exit strategies?
Oh man, I've got great ideas. You guys need to stay tuned for the next video because we have a, oh my gosh, what we're going to be teaching you next is amazing.
It'll be fun. Hey guys, thank you very much for taking time for your time. We appreciate it. Susan, thank you. And guys, we hope you get a chance just to learn some few things and glean some information from this today. Thanks. Hey guys, if you liked this video and want more free information on owner financing, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when we post. Don't forget to like this post and ask me any questions on owner financing below. When you're ready to take the next step, head over to the ownerfinancenetwork.com and check out our in-depth course on owner financing.